We're on YouTube now. Just so it's clear for those who've been trying to watch this, there was a period we couldn't record on YouTube. There was some kind of glitch, but now we're able to do it again. So we just finished the direct examination of Aaron Zitoun, and we're going to be doing the cross-examination. I'm going to try to post. I did record the direct examination of Ms. Zitoun, and I'm going to try to upload that at some point. So, all right, let's get started.
Your Honor, may I proceed?
You may.
Good afternoon, Ms. Zitoun.
Good afternoon.
You drafted the initial contract in this case, correct?
I didn't draft a contract.
What'd you draft?
I drafted it was a Word document.
Okay, you drafted a Word document that was a potential agreement between you and your builder?
Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure I understand your testimony about what happened on that. So your testimony is you drafted a Word document for a proposed agreement between you and your builder, right?
Yes.
And then you logged into your husband's email account.
Yes.
And then you impersonated your husband and sent the Word document to Dylan and Sam Al-Shami.
Objection, argumentative.
Overruled.
You can answer.
I wouldn't say I impersonated him.
You acted like you were him?
I think I didn't really know that I was probably in his email.
You thought it was your own?
Probably.
And you did all of that without your husband knowing?
Yes.
And you didn't tell your husband about any of that until trial?
Correct.
So when your husband signed the declaration with the court stating that Dylan Al-Shami drafted it, you didn't say anything to your husband then?
Objection, that's not what the affidavit says. He says he got handed a version from Dylan. He didn't say Dylan drafted the template. That's
Your Honor,
not.
I'm going to object to these speaking objections. If he has an objection or what.
I'm going to sustain the objection to the speaking objection, and the court will rely on his own recollection of what happened.
Do you remember my question, Ms. Zitoun, or should I repeat it?
Please repeat it.
Okay. So when your husband drafted and signed a declaration with the court saying that Dylan Al-Shami drafted the contract, you didn't say anything to your husband then?
The builder's agreement that was actually drafted was drafted by Dylan.
You'll agree with me, Ms. Zitoun, that the vast majority of the contract is the same verbiage as you included in the original draft, true?
I wouldn't agree that it's mostly or percentage-wise. I don't know what percentage-wise it would be, but.
And so you didn't tell your husband when he signed that declaration that you had actually put together the initial draft of that document?
I really didn't even remember the certain draft or the Word document in general. When I later looked at the builder's agreement, I looked for one that was signed by both parties. I didn't even look to see for templates or attachments, things like that.
So that's a no, you didn't tell your husband?
About what?
My question, Ms. Zitoun, was when your husband signed the declaration with the court stating that Dylan Al-Shami drafted the contract, you didn't say anything to your husband then about you putting together the initial draft?
I didn't draft the contract.
Ms. Zitoun, that's not my question. We'll call yours the Word document. Is that an okay assessment in your verbiage?
Yeah, or it was attached. I attached it, or.
What do you want to call it? What do you want to call it?
I guess.
Template, a Word document. Tell me what verbiage that you want to call what you put together.
Well, it really was a template that I found online.
So we can call it a template. If I say template, can we agree that we both know we're talking about the document that you emailed to Sam and Dylan Al-Shami?
Yes.
Okay. So when your husband signed a declaration with the court stating that Dylan Al-Shami drafted the contract, you didn't say anything to your husband about the fact that you had put together the template?
I don't believe that the template is the same as the actual contract or the agreement that we all came up with and signed. So it's not the same to me.
So you didn't say anything to your husband then?
No.
Okay. And when your lawyer in opening statement told Judge Hoffman that Dylan El-Shami drafted the contract, you didn't tell your husband then that you had put together the template?
The template that was attached to the email. It's not the same as the contract.
So that's a no, you didn't tell your husband then?
No, I didn't think it was the same.
And so the only time you finally told your husband that you had drafted this template was after I cross-examined your husband on Exhibit 116, correct?
Oh, sorry. Please ask the question again.
The first time you told your husband that you had drafted the template was after I cross-examined your husband on Exhibit 116, correct?
It was actually after we spoke about it and I looked closer at that Word document that you presented. And that's when I realized.
And that was after I'd cross-examined your husband?
After you brought it in trial, yes.
Okay. Let's look at Exhibit 116. Do you have Exhibit 116 in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. And this is the email that you sent from your husband's account and signed it with your husband's name, correct?
Yes.
And isn't it true when you sent this email to Sam and Dylan El-Shami, you thought that you might not even need a contract, right?
At the time, it looks like I might have thought that.
Yeah, on your husband's behalf, you told Sam and Dylan El-Shami that we could just have an understanding, right?
It does look like I said that.
You didn't have any plans that were agreed to by the parties at that point in time, did you?
We didn't have a contract, a building contract yet.
And you didn't have any plans, correct?
What do you mean by plans?
Building plans?
Like a draft or?
Yeah, did you have agreed upon building plans at this point in time?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so even with approved building plans, you thought that it was possible that you could just have an understanding rather than an executed contract?
I think I wasn't sure exactly. I don't really know what you're trying to ask. Could you ask that again?
Sure, you didn't think that you had to even have a written contract with the El-Shamis, did you?
I definitely don't think that's what I meant there.
What did you mean there?
Let me read it. I don't recall what I meant by understanding per se.
Don't you think you meant that you might not even need a written agreement?
I do not think that I meant that.
At this point in time, when you sent this email impersonating your husband, you'd been talking to the bank, correct?
Not me really that much.
Well, you said the lender obviously needs to see something like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you make the representation on behalf of your husband without even talking to the lender?
I think me and Jordan collectively probably talked to the lender when we were trying to, get the project started and get the builders, like we needed to pick a builder. So.
Well, my question is, I'll go back. Had you and your husband been talking to the lender at this point in time?
I don't recall.
Okay, well, you told Mr. El-Shami, both Mr. El-Shamis, that the goal was to make the lender feel comfortable, correct?
Yes, it says that.
And that's the only reason why we needed this contract signed, true?
No.
At the time that you drafted the initial template, you were a licensed real estate agent, correct?
I believe so.
And you were an owner of a company called Aaron Lee Design LLC, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I want to talk about the budget and the plans for a minute. You didn't send a single email to the bank at any point in time to tell the bank not to release any funds to the builder, did you?
Not specifically, no.
And you didn't send a single email to Versailles to tell them that you weren't approving any overages, were you?
Not that I can recall.
You didn't send a single email to the bank to tell them that you weren't approving any overages, did you?
Actually, I think I sent one to Martin.
That said you didn't approve overages.
It was the way that I said it, I was trying to say that.
Okay, well, if you sent one that said you didn't approve overages, I'll invite your counsel to examine you on that. You didn't send a single email to the bank to tell them that you didn't approve the building plans, did you?
No,
You didn't send a single email to Versailles to tell them that you didn't approve the building plans, did you?
no.
In fact, you had told them in this email that you might just be able to have an understanding, right?
It appears I did at that time.
You approved every single draw request, didn't you?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Which draw request did you not approve being released to the builder?
I don't think I signed every single one, but I wouldn't know which ones I didn't sign.
Did your husband sign every single one?
I believe so.
Did you ever tell your husband don't sign that release on the draw?
No, I never told him.
Let's look at Exhibit 51. Exhibit 51, you heard Mr. Elshami's testimony earlier today, correct?
Yes,
And it's his testimony that this was a list of overages, right?
yes,
Okay. And your husband, on March 2nd, the same day he received this list, saying that as of this date, Zitoun's owe $60,805. Your husband forwarded that to you, correct?
yes.
You never reached out to Mr. Elshami to say that you didn't approve that, did you?
I tried to speak to him in person.
Did you ever send a single email to Dylan Elshami or Sam Elshami to tell them that you did not approve these amounts?
No, I never emailed them.
And you want Judge Hoffman to believe that you were not involved in the building of this home, correct?
I wasn't involved in the building of the home.
Okay, well, you drafted the initial template, true?
The attachment to the email, yes.
And you picked out the range for the kitchen, true?
Yes, I think I had to, yes,
Okay, so you picked out the range. You asked the bank for flexibility on your financing, true?
no,
Okay, let's look at Exhibit 22. Is this an email from you?
it appears to be.
To Mr. Elshami, Martin Rule, your husband, Becky at the bank, does that look right?
Yes, it does.
You're talking about financing, and you say flexibility will be key, true?
It does look like I said that.
And that was right after an email that you had also sent to Martin at the bank talking about the budget, right?
That's the email I was referring to your prior question.
My question, Ms. Zitoun, was did you not ask the bank for flexibility on the financing?
That's not what I intended there.
You didn't mean to tell the bank that flexibility would be key?
That's not what I meant.
What were you talking about when you said flexibility would be key?
Let me try to remember. Let's see. I don't remember what I meant exactly by that.
Okay.
It doesn't really make sense to me.
Okay, so you've testified that you drafted the initial template, you picked out the range, you said whatever you meant when you said flexibility will be key to the bank. You were also working with George Ramos, weren't you?
I hired him to build the fence around my property.
Well, you also asked him to come out and look at the driveway, didn't you?
After the home flooded the first time, Sam told me about the grate drain that you could put there, and he told me the Ramos guy
Well, he doesn't tell you the Ramos guy here, right? You're the one that says Ramos said he will stop by sometime, correct?
Because prior to this text message, when Sam came to the property after it flooded, he told me call Ramos, and he told me about the Great Drain. And that's how I knew about this Great Drain that I'm talking about here.
Okay, so back to my question was, you were working with Ramos, correct?
I don't know. I mean, at what time I was, I'm not sure.
You were also, I'm showing you what's marked as Exhibit 45, Zitoun Exhibit 45. You're seeking to recover damages for all of these items, correct?
Yes.
When did you purchase all of these items? Or is this a chronological list, or how does this list work?
They're not chronological by the time I purchased them. Some of these items were billed to the bank, and the builder received payment from them. And then there's other items here. So technically I paid for them twice, maybe. But some of them here are just other items that I needed to try to finish the project. So, well, not finish it, but to get it somewhat livable. And these are the items.
So a couple of things. First, my understanding of your husband's testimony was that you all are seeking to recover $84,000 based on these items, correct?
Yes.
But is it your testimony now that the bank already reimbursed the builder for some of these items?
No.
What did you say when you said the builder's already been paid for some of these?
The builder collected money from the bank for some of these items, and I wasn't, and these items I also paid for. The builder didn't pay for them and collected money from the bank.
So these are items that you paid for out of pocket, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you're saying on the one hand, you weren't involved with the project, but you're buying the chandeliers, right?
It's a custom home. So when it's a custom home, you know, as a homeowner, you have the right to pick the chandelier you like or the tile you like. And I don't think I even bought the tile.
That wasn't my question, Ms. Zitoun. My question was, you bought the chandelier, right?
Yes.
You bought a $6,000 refrigerator.
Yes.
You bought a $5,000 front door.
No.
How much was the front door?
The front door showed up one day and it was installed improperly, and I didn't pick it.
Who picked the front door?
Dylan and Sam.
You purchased the tub, correct?
Yes.
And cabinet pulls, did you purchase those as well?
Yes.
Ms. Zitoun, help us understand, if you're buying things down to the level of cabinet pulls, how was it that you weren't involved in the building of this home?
So I had to buy the cabinet pulls, like the little dresser pulls or things for the kitchen cabinets. I had to buy them at the last moment before I moved my family into the home, because there was no knobs or anything on any of the kitchen things before we moved in. So
Exactly.
that's why I bought them.
Exactly, because the home wasn't finished, was it?
Sam told us that the home was finished.
Ms. Zitoun, there weren't even cabinet pulls on the cabinets yet, were there?
I believe that they probably would have never put cabinet pulls on them.
Ms. Zitoun, did Sam or Dylan Elshami ever tell you that the home was complete?
Yes.
When did they tell you the home was complete?
May 15th.
And you're talking about the email to the bank?
Yes, and verbally.
Ms. Zitoun, did they tell you that you could move into the home?
Sam said we could.
Your testimony under oath is that Mr. Elshami told you that you could move into the home.
Yes.
That's your sworn testimony.
Objection, badgering. And cumulative.
Overruled.
Ms. Zitoun, how much have you and your husband spent on experts in this case?
Tens of thousands of dollars.
Don't you think that costs more than a drain by your driveway?
I've had experts look at the driveway and they said a grate drain will not fix the problem. It will still have flooding.
Did you try to put a drain by your driveway at any point in time?
A sump pump.
At the driveway
Yes,
or at the front of the house? You put a sump pump at the driveway.
it's right next to the driveway, like you can't put it in the driveway, but it's right next to it.
You told Mr. El-Shami on October 9th, you said, I think I need to cut concrete next to drain all the way across and install a graded drain that will carry water from sitting in that place. Did I read that correctly?
Yes,
You never did that, did you?
I did not.
Don't you think that might have been less expensive to do than tens of thousands of dollars in experts?
It wouldn't have fixed the problem.
What do you base that on?
I've had 5 different probably people come and look at it, and they said you have to rip up the driveway, grate everything away from the home. You have to get new gutter system. It's too small. The size of the roof is a commercial size, area size roofing. So you need commercial size gutters to properly install it. And then you need grading them to get cleared out and have proper grading and drainage. It's astronomical amounts.
Ms. Zitoun, you were so involved with the build of this property that you were out at the property late at night watching people pour a driveway. True?
Sam told us to go.
Ms. Zitoun, do you ever just wish that you had let Versailles fix the property the first time it flooded?
I asked them to.
You ever wish you would just let them fix the property?
I asked them to, and they never contacted my attorney to actually come out to the property and fix the. I sent a demand letter that goes with the warranty that we have, and that was part of the reason why I thought I was just waiting for them to try to come fix all the grading and stuff, and they never. I had a punch list and everything, and they never came out.
Don't you agree that the property's gotten substantially worse over time?
Of course it has.
I pass this witness, Your Honor.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Let's call your next witness.
Your Honor, we are seriously considering presenting attorney's fees, like you suggested, maybe after you ruled. I'm not sure if that was exactly your suggestion, but
So yeah, this is my thought. This is not a ruling. It'll be easier to segregate attorney's fees, I think, if you know what you're segregating, because as I said, there's, I guess, 5 causes of action. I guess I haven't really zeroed in on the 5th cause of action, much that fiduciary duty one, but the other 4, I've kind of already made decisions on what I'm going to do in all likelihood. And so there is going to be some need to segregate on claims you recovered on and claims you didn't. And so it makes sense to me, if it's agreeable to everyone, to maybe deal with this after the close of, or at some point after I can announce my decision so you can do your segregation. But I don't know, what are your thoughts?
we think that's a good idea. First of all, it'll save time here and it'll save time there. So we think that's a good idea, and we're okay with it.
Makes sense, Your Honor.
Okay. So does that mean we don't have any more witnesses today?
Well, Mr. Scott has to put on, just authenticate 2 documents that were exchanged between he and Mr. Ertl that we haven't put in. So I could put him on to do that.
Have you asked Ms. Pettigrew if she'll agree to them?
You might. I just got them and sent them to her. I sent Ms. Pettigrew, I just sent them to you and to the court staff and Mr. Ortego. And it's a letters between Scott and Ertl. And while she looks at that, Your Honor, we have 2 other witnesses That will be short, very similar to those ones we had earlier this morning, but they did not expect, one of them's a lawyer, they did not expect to be called today, and we just would like to be able to call them if we resume.
Are these attorney fees experts or are these something else?
No, they're fact witnesses,
Right, but it's okay.
and they'll be short.
Apples, I don't have anything from you in regard to what you said you had sent. Maybe it's still coming, but I don't think I have anything.
Well, I'll admit I'm not the best multitasker in the world, so let me look. Sent. I just sent them. It's got your email, petitfirm.com. I'm gonna send them again to you.
Okay.
Mr. Ortega may have them.